This crane model from WSI was a new release at the Balmer exhibition in April 2019. The box has some information about the real crane printed on one end, and the blue and white colour scheme tells you that this is a Tadano crane. It is the ATF 60G-3. What comes out of the box is probably what you'd expect, and that's a pair of expanded polystyrene trays, and they are factory sealed all around with tape. So there's plenty of knife work to do to lift the lid, and there's the model wrapped in clear plastic. For the assembly, we will get the crane ready for the road. The counterweight is a little bit unusual because you can't carry it all on board in transport mode, so we need to take off the top slab. It will then fit in the usual position just behind the cab. Then we have a nice aspect, which is a holder for the single line hook. And this crane comes with a small lattice fly jib which can be fixed to the side of the boom. Once the fixing holes are lined up, we can insert the steel pin. And it's slightly unusual because it's got a loop at the end to help you hold it. But the compromise is that it doesn't look so good when it's in position. The method of fixing the counterweights has two threaded jacks. So to look right, we just pop them in. Underneath the crane there is a ladder at the front, and the suspension and transmission components are modelled. The big tyres also have a nice tread pattern. The driving cab has got some nice fine detailing, including small graphics and paint highlighting, and there are mirrors, cameras and beacon lights. While we're at the front, the metal hook has got 3 separate metal pulleys inside. There's one small detail behind the cab which is not so nice, and that's a fixing screw, and hopefully that will be painted in future editions. On the other hand, the tyres have excellent Michelin branding. There are many other small details which add authenticity, including small graphics, and there are textured surfaces and nice lights. Not quite so good are the visible screw threads from the counterweight fixings. There's a plastic air cleaner and a nice mesh grille, and the crane cab has got metal grab rails, and there's a nicely detailed interior. Towards the back there's some nice hydraulic detailing for the winch, including hoses and connectors, and the handrail is very good too. The lattice fly jib is metal with metal pulleys, and at the boom top there are separate metal pulleys, and there is a hoist rope connector which is riveted on, and there's a hoist rope cutout chain which is also permanently fixed to the boom head. There is steering on each of the axles with a reasonable range of movement, and because they're independent, any of the steering modes of the real crane can be replicated. The other nice feature is that all of the axles have independent sprung suspension. Moving the crane along, and it's steady as she goes, and there's some friction in the axles so the model won't zoom off at high speed. If we set the steering, then the model turns well and the axles all hold their pose. Let's now put a squeeze on and check the suspension, and it works well and it's not too soft. One nice feature on this model is the fold down ladders, and there are 4 of them, and you just rotate them and they drop down. So we are on site, so let's set the crane up, and the outrigger beams are quite stiff to pull out initially. They are single stage metal beams, and the pads can be locked into a transport pose. To lower them, they're just unscrewed in the usual way, and there's no unsightly screw threads, and there's a set of plastic spreader plates provided. The whole outrigger system works well enough to support the crane wheels free. Another very nice feature is the double folding handrails on top of the crane, and we can set those up for working mode. We can now lift our boom using our fingers if that's what we like to do, and it locks in position using an Allen key on a small grub screw. And as usual, this system works very well. So now we're ready to rotate the crane, and it is generally smooth in action. With the crane partially rotated, it's easier to set down more of the ladders. And before we attach the counterweight, we'll add on the extra slab that can't be carried in transport mode. And with the screwed pistons taken out, we can rotate the crane body over the counterweight. To attach the counterweight, we drop in the lift cylinders, and then we can screw them into the counterweight. And it's handy that the key you use to operate the winch can also be used to attach the counterweight. Once the counterweight is lifted and fixed, we can rotate the crane. To keep tension on the hoist rope, a metal load is supplied, and that has the Tadano name on it. The key provided is used to operate the winch drum, and the drum has a spring-loaded brake. Extending the boom is done in the usual way by pulling out the sections, and on the review model these were stiffer to use than you usually find. When you extend the telescopic sections they have locking points, and these appear to be around 50% and 100%. Included with the model is the small fly jib, and if you want a bit of extra reach you can pin that in position, although you might need to clean some paint out of the holes to get the pins in easily. The fly jib also has a ratchet system, so there's a small brass nut and bolt. They are very tiny, but by accident or design you can use the winch key to undo them. You can then reset the fly jib to one of two fixed angles. This is a new model of a new crane, so let's do a dim check and see how high it reaches. And to the top of the main boom it's about 37 inches or 94 centimeters. And with the fly jib you get a bit more, 43 inches or 109 centimeters. This is another high quality crane model from WSI Models. There is plenty of very nice detailing, and the working features of the model generally work very well. This is a popular size of crane, so there may be many available in limited edition colours in due course, but in the meantime it is easy to rate as very good.